the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, the recording of the podcast has begun. Somehow,
Yes.
Veronica has brought the 1940s
Oh, yes.
Hollywood star,
Oh, yes.
1950s maybe,
She has. I
into
think you're right.
into Biofriendly.
yeah.
She's brought that vibe,
Thank
that
you.
energy. I don't know how she did it. I don't know why she did it, but I'm glad she did it.
I don't know how. I love it.
But we're often having a moment together.
But we're often speaking to each other like old-timey Hollywood actors. It's pretty great. Yeah, it's pretty great. We are jamming some podcasts this week, guys. We're jamming them. We're filling the holiday season. Scoopity doop.
We are. A lot of people are going to be wondering why is the information so non-date specific all of a sudden?
Right.
Like these
They're just all over the map. What's happening?
They have no idea.
They're just flying off the seat of their pants.
We are. Our pants are flying off of our seats.
Do you remember that was in our first year of the podcast? We had we had an airline called Seat of Your Pants.
That's right.
Fly by the seat of my pants.
Ah,
That was one of our earliest jokes. No,
Jacob,
back in the.
we've grown so much.
We've grown so much. Now our
Unbelievable.
jokes are way worse.
Much less sophisticated. We've dropped the sophistication years ago. Yes. Now it's just pure green knowledge.
Just nothing but knowledge and fart jokes.
And fart
to
jokes.
be honest, let's
Fart
be
jokes
honest.
and knowledge.
Fart jokes and knowledge. That's actually
That's a good tagline.
that's a great tag.
Yeah,
write that down.
But I think, but we're out of order. We recorded.
Oh, you're right.
We
you're
can't
right
because for those of you who are listening to the podcast, which you must be because you're here.
Yes, you're here. They're here.
You're here.
You're here.
You're here. Congratulations. Welcome to the podcast. For those of you who are listening to the
You're
podcast,
so right. I didn't think about
we
the tag
can't.
phenomenon.
The tag's messed up because we did our second to last podcast of the year already because that's when we got our guest.
Yeah.
For those of you who are very excited and waiting,
Hardcore fans,
we have confirmed that Sean Cohn is back.
He's back,
folks.
He's back and better than ever.
Better than ever.
And rip roaring time to be had.
Yeah, that is a long podcast.
It is.
But it is some serious gold.
I mean, honestly, it will give you everything that you need to watch that you didn't watch in 2022. That's
I agree.
I
agree.
Hands down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both ours and his, like
Yes.
the combination.
Yeah, you get the whole
gambit.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's so funny. I was just thinking about adding tags, and I was like, well, that'll throw off the rhythm of everything. So actually, we can't really add any more tags.
Our
for the rest of
tags
the year.
are what they are.
They are what they are.
What was it though?
I don't remember.
Knowledge.
What else? It says knowledge and fart jokes.
Knowledge.
Green
and
knowledge and fart jokes.
Green knowledge and fart jokes. That would have been a great tag.
Well, hey, 2023.
Beginning of the year, do we add it?
You would
First
just
tag?
add it.
First tag.
ad.
That's number one.
Yeah, green.
That's interesting. On week one,
Week one, we have a tag.
actually, week one, we need to, for tradition's sake, probably just do, and then week two, we do that.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe, do you think? Or,
Yeah.
or do we just break convention?
I don't know, man. Sky's the limit.
It is the limit.
On the
is
seat
the
of our
limit.
pants airlines, sky's the limit.
Green knowledge and fart jokes.
Green knowledge and fart jokes.
It's so cute. Right? It was like, she gave this look over like, oh, God, I don't know the exact wording.
I don't know what you mean.
What do you mean?
What are you saying? You
This is
said-
because it's important here. This
It
is like
is.
this. Gotta get the words exactly right.
You have to get them right. This is all going into a court of law.
If there is one thing that we are very stringent and strict about, it is getting our tags perfectly every time, the first time.
I know if there are listeners, and there are friends, people that I've known that reached out that have been listening since 2019, and 100% one of the joys of listening to the show is hearing us struggle through the tags.
Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing.
no idea. Year after year, it's always
Well,
a
and
thing.
I like that we make it harder on ourselves by, I mean, the fact that they all get erased on day one of the year is so funny because we've worked so hard to remember what they are, and now we finally got them, and then we start the new year, and it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
There's going to be a whole new set of tags.
Whole years, and they don't realize that we go home and I lay in bed at night and I think to myself, carefully avoiding neonicotinoids.
Yeah.
And it's there forever because I spent a year burning it in my brain and then I never use it
And then
again.
it'll never, no. Well, until today.
Till today.
So that's good.
There it is. Yeah. Carefully avoiding neonicotinoids.
And we know about microns.
We know about microns. Hey, you'll never forget that one now.
No. I mean, I will, but no.
Of course. Well, should we shenanigan more or should we dig in? What do you think?
We could shenanigan for the rest of our lives, but
Yeah,
I think,
we should dig in for the sake of
Ronnie has college today.
She does.
She's got to go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's going to have to scoot off. So I think if we want to get Ronnie for as much of the podcast
as much as we want,
possible,
we want maximum Ronnie time.
Yeah. Maybe when she goes, then we can fool around.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, wait, you know what?
We'll really get in trouble because there'll be nobody to watch us.
And what I love about this is in classic Biofriendly podcast format, I said to Noel, I said, we have the option here. She could just head on and not even be on the show, or we could call out her leaving. And Noel looks at me and he's like, we'll call it out. Because that is what we do in the show. Like if a pie box is delivered, if a UPS guy shows up, we say, welcome.
It happens. And then that's now part of it. Goes in the Smithsonian.
It goes in the Smithsonian. Guys. Timber! That is what we're going to talk about today.
That's
we're going to
right.
talk about timber.
Because when we were talking about beavers,
yes,
that inspired.
Yes,
we had a listener.
We had a listener
ask for us to talk about logging.
Yes, wanted to know about logging, but this is a bigger subject because I thought, I found a few things about sustainable forestry and logging and that industry, but I found an article that it was like there's a new revolution happening, and it's been happening overseas for a while.
Sure.
And it's slowly making its way to the U.S., but it's been tricky getting it here.
This is such a fascinating topic.
It really is.
I think that people will be surprised at how interesting tree management and logging
really
is.
Yeah, and so this timber is having a revival in terms of construction. So we've built a lot of buildings out of concrete and steel and these massive skyscrapers and all that stuff. But
even houses are now being built out of steel.
Yes. Yeah. And so this article, it says, Timber's time, wood is making a comeback in construction, bringing many benefits. Mm-hmm. So just as kind of set the stage, this is the, you're watching the history doc right now. Okay, ready? In Japan, the Miyadaiku, known as an ancient type of carpentry that is used to build temples. They believe the characteristics of trees and the intentions of the Miyadaiku should coexist in harmony. They are as one. So this all goes back centuries, thousands of years in Japan. This, if you'd like to buy the soundtrack, email Noel at noelnaturesoundtracks.com.
I was trying to.
That's great. You were trying to build up as I went.
I thought if we don't have stock music, so we'll make our own.
We don't have stock music. All we have is the Biofriendly Podcast theme song.
That's it.
And you could just run that on repeat. So
I hope that people heard what you said though, and I wasn't too loud.
Well, here
you can turn me down.
I'll give you turn him down a little bit. Okay, the Miyadaiku. Mm-hmm. So the title to become the master carpenter is called a torio. Mm-hmm. I actually thought this was really cool. This is why I'm sharing it. So their knowledge, the torio, it takes like your whole life to become this master carpenter of wood building called a torio from the Miyadaiku. They don't write anything down. It's only passed verbally.
You have to learn it and know it.
Apprentices learn by watching and doing. A torio restoring a pagoda in 2022. Sorry, this article obviously is a year old. Will find unity with the Miyadaiku who built the structure in 800 AD. Even the tools, axes, and spear planes haven't changed for centuries. Wow. So the builder building today will be like, oh, he'll look at the structure and he'll go, I see what he did here, even though it was 800 AD. Because it's like the same skill set that's been passed down for generation after generation.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's so cool.
So anyway, this has inspired, this technique has created this new craze, if you will, where buildings are coming up and they're being built of wood, okay? So they're doing this because construction's environmental footprint is huge.
It's massive.
Okay. The sector creates 38% of global energy-related CO2 emissions.
Well, think about it this way, right?
Right.
Would you rather carry a gigantic bundle of wood with your buddy and your arms back and forth, or would you rather put it on a truck and then get it on a
it's tricky.
Get on a lift, get it up on the
it's a lot of work.
You just you use machines.
Yep.
You use machines because machines mean you can do it faster and it's easier
Yeah.
and it's less expensive. And
Exactly.
it's like all those things. I mean, you have to use machines. But the thing is, there's a lot of really cool machines that exist now to do all of this work.
To help us get things built.
And none of it's electric yet.
Yeah. No.
And even if it were electric, we could go into the whole problems of that.
Exactly. So actually, construction, this is a 10-part series on the different building things that cause the, you know what I mean? It's like a million things in construction.
Sure.
But one of them, concrete production around the world is responsible for 9% of industrial water use each year.
Yeah.
So concrete is a water sucker, basically. So this is what they're looking, projections in the future. I don't know how accurate this is. This is the global building stock is expected to double in the area by 2060, equivalent to adding a New York City each month for 40 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's probably about right. Well, you figure that the population is still, for the moment, growing.
yes.
Not so much in the developed world, but
Right.
in the developing world, the population is going absolutely bananas.
It's growing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why things like Earth Tower were built, a 40-story building in Vancouver. When complete, it will be the world's tallest hybrid wood tower. Its lateral stability will come from reinforced concrete elevator cores. So they're still using certain cores and materials. But the floor slabs, walls, and columns will be made from locally manufactured mass timber. So timber is carbon negative from the cradle to the grave. That's the thing about timber. So they have created this material, and so you start thinking a little bit more like looking at wood like Legos or like building blocks.
Yeah.
They've created this thing called CLT, which is cross-laminated timber, CLT. Studies have shown that 1 cubic meter of cross-laminated timber, CLT, so they refer to that a lot of times, sequesters around 1 ton of CO2. So in comparison, concrete emits 150 kilograms and steel emits 1.85 tons.
Right. Well, so what you want to think about it as, so people are wondering, how are you trapping CO2? How's that working? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So
please explain that.
So every time, what makes a tree absorb carbon is that as it grows, it literally converts carbon from the air into tree. Right. Into leaves, into wood, into the bark, into the tree itself. So then that tree, if it falls down naturally, is in the forest, and then biodegrades, becomes part of the ground. As it's biodegrading, it releases the carbon
CO2 that it was holding onto.
Right?
Yeah.
But it also produces fuel to make more trees. It produces the nutrients necessary to make more trees.
Right.
Which then absorb more carbon and then grow, right?
Yeah.
If you are to take that tree, the wood from that tree, and then turn it into something that stays in place, then you've essentially got that carbon that became that tree, because that's what it's made of. You've turned it into a locked up building.
Yeah.
So that building is essentially a carbon sink.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
It's carbon that's there, that's not going anywhere. It's not biodegrading. It's not being burned, right? We like burning wood for heat or whatever. Every time you burn wood, you're releasing the carbon. So it's a way of locking the tree into a house, essentially.
Essentially.
And that's kind of what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it says things like, as a natural thermal insulator, timber performs 15 times better than concrete and 400 times better than steel. So it has the tendency to keep insulated better than the other materials.
Right.
So it's less energy to heat and
heating,
cool.
less cooling.
Yeah, it does it right.
That's good.
So one more example. I can't pronounce this. This is a Norwegian word. It says...
Oh, we went to IKEA.
Yeah. So this is an IKEA word. It's MJO with an O with a line through it, and then an STA with a dot above it, and then an R and an NET, which is basically a cabinet or a building. No, I'm just kidding. Mjøstarnet.
What we need
What?
is we need to get a Norwegian guest or Scandinavian guest to come in and then just go through all the alphabet for us.
All the alphabet.
To
so we can
explain
understand
how each letter is supposed to sound, what it's supposed to be, so that we can never have this mistake again.
It is so...
And then we'll go through IKEA and we'll properly say Mjøsbjørt.
Or
whatever it is that we're looking at.
Yeah. I love it when you see something in IKEA though that's like it's like the one word that you go, I can't mess this up, because it's like flung or like lark. And you're like, I think I got that one down.
And then you find out it's flung.
Yeah. You're like, dang gummit, I can't pronounce these words. But if you've been listening to the show since the beginning, you know that if there's anything that Jacob Gibbons does, he pronounces every word correctly all the time.
Well, what he does do is he gives it an effort.
I give it the old college try.
And that's something.
It's true. Yeah. So this building is the world's tallest timber building, as of now, because other people are building it, erected in Bramundal, Norway. It was built without external scaffolding, despite being 85.4 meters high.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's amazing.
It's amazing. So
they built this thing
without scaffolding,
using only like what was built below them.
Yes.
To keep them afloat.
Yeah. Scary job.
Wow.
Scary day job. Not for me.
That's awesome.
And then another highlight, I'm going to cover a few more things because we're going to get into the logging aspect, like how they're getting the materials and what that means. Because you're thinking to yourself, you're like, wait.
But we're killing trees.
We're killing trees. We're cutting down trees. Right. But so one thing that's been very cool, and we know this from forest bathing and one we talked about before, they found that people who work in buildings that are made from wood are like way less stressed. Like it just has a calming effect on them. Yeah. So it has stress-reducing properties to it.
It's like working in a mausoleum.
Yes.
All the death around you makes you
it really bums you out.
So peaceful.
It makes everything's dead.
It puts you in a zen place.
Like you're like, hello.
Like, all this dead wood. I love it.
Yes, exactly. Well, it says, so this is funny. Some woods are better than the others, right?
Oh.
So listen to this.
Wait, not all woods are
Not
built
all
the
woods
same?
are stacked up the same, Noel. A university in Finland even considered how people react to different woods. Glued, laminated birch, old oak, oak log, and gray oak were found to be beautiful, leading to positive emotions. Now there's some other woods, right?
Wait, so the beautiful woods are
the
what?
beautiful woods are the oaks. Okay. Finely sawn spruce, laminate-oriented strand board, similar to plywood, and lacquered oak parquet were less popular. So people were like, I fart in your general direction if you use those.
I think it's sad that some woods aren't as appreciated as other woods.
I know. I agree. You know how I feel about all woods should be
I think every wood has its purpose, its place.
Yeah.
This is
we talk about this every day.
This is a big topic for us.
Big topic.
It's a big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah, we're equal opportunity wood users.
Lovers.
Yeah.
So now that we know, there's obviously not everybody's crazy about building with wood.
And why would they be? Because we can't agree on anything. I don't think we can even agree that people should be able to breathe.
Right. Exactly. So it says. So now this oh man, I do have to call this out.
Okay, call it out.
Vox is one of the sources.
They kind of like to be provocative.
So he's provocative with the way he says this. Can I read this
I think
now?
Vox enjoys it. Yeah, let's hear it. What do they got to say?
It's pretty provocative. It says, while CLT, which I talked about before, cross-laminated timber, is continuing to explode in Europe and is accelerating in Canada, it remains hampered in the U.S. by anachronistic and overly prescriptive building codes, limited domestic supply, and the small conservative thinking of the building trades. So,
wow. This is always political, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. We can't just talk about the use of the building materials. But
I think anachronistic.
Maybe. Yeah, anachronistic is what I said. Anachronistic. Yeah. You're right.
I think that
anachronistic.
I think that we can't win.
I know.
I think we can't win. All right, but let's hear it. Let's hear what they got to say.
So he goes on to he does point out an interesting point, which is something that you and I would have stumbled across anyway with our own research.
Do you know what it is?
What?
I think that you can, if we were to do a better job, and Vox is never going to do this,
right?
But a better job of just pointing out maybe the flaw in a different way or in a certain way of thinking, and to get more into here's an interesting way to do it, and why don't we do it this way, and look at how fascinating this is, and then to not get into why. Like there's a lot of people in industries, particularly people who have been in those industries for a long time, right? Like the older folks have the way that they used to do things, and they have reasons for why they do those things. And I think some of those things need to be looked at and appreciated for what they are and incorporated in what happens in the future.
Agreed.
Young people don't always do a good job of that, right?
Right.
But I think that older people, or people who've been in a business and done things a certain way for a long time, sometimes struggle to embrace new things.
Yes.
I think that generally, as you get older, you naturally become more conservative because the world changes around you, and the definition of conservative is trying to conserve to keep things as they were, not as they're going to be.
Yeah.
So you're going to be hard pressed in any industry to find people who are as progressive when they're older as the young people.
Agreed.
It's just not how it works. Even if that person is from the same political party, they're still going to be more conservative.
Yeah.
Just because that's the nature of life.
Yeah.
So I think that we should, if we could find a way to just drop the monikers
Yeah.
and just talk about what the issue is, you'd get more people to come along.
Yeah, I agree. And you can see from when I read further, because he goes on to list why timber is a good idea. And then you can see he followed the money, and this is where the author got frustrated.
Sure.
This is where the frustration comes from, and why you can see why you're writing in your article that you're irritated.
Right.
Because it says...
Because if it's about money only, then you shouldn't, that shouldn't be the thing.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be about that.
So he says, in all that I've read and among everyone I've talked to about mass timber, I have encountered nothing but enthusiasm about its architectural properties.
Right.
The one exception may be, and he names an organization here. He says maybe the Build with Strength Coalition, which fought mass timber's inclusion in the IBC, characterizing it as rickety, highly flammable, and environmentally unsustainable. But he calls out, he says, but Build with Strength is sponsored by the concrete industry.
Well, yeah. See,
So
that sounds financial.
That's a financial thing. So we agree and understand with people like this that are doing the research. It is frustrating, right? When you find that there is a good solution and the people that are trying to squelch it and quiet it down are driven by financial causes. But we do have to find a way. How do we communicate to these more conservative angles without making everybody go, well, I don't even want to hear what you have to say.
Here's the thing. If you take away that moniker and you just say instead, there's a concrete industry that's stopping something.
Yes.
You just say that.
Yeah.
You're going to get support from people who are across the political spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are. Because nobody really likes it when some money-grubbing dirtbag controls something.
Yeah.
That's not, most people aren't that rich.
Yeah.
And really, people who aren't that rich don't like it when people who are rich keep us from having better things.
Yes, it's true.
So you don't, and there are poor Republicans and there are poor Democrats.
Absolutely.
Most people are poor Republicans and poor Democrats.
All of us, right?
Right?
There's only a small fraction of people in this country and in the world that have a surplus of everything.
And I think that you could unite more people behind the concept if you drop the conservative old moniker, like older people moniker, and just say, this is being stopped by a special interest for an existing industry that wants concrete.
Yeah. And we need
That's just data.
That's just data.
Just straight data. And if you listen to that data, you go, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Why can't we progress? We shouldn't be stopped because one industry doesn't want to lose its power.
Right, exactly. And you, as I described that other building earlier, they were saying they're using concrete cores. They're using elements of it. But maybe we've gotten to a place where every building is like everything is concrete and steel. And you know what? There has to maybe be a guide between the two where you split the difference.
Yes.
But it means somebody's going to lose a little bit of money and they get angry when you tell them that.
Right.
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 Yeah.
No, I mean, look, the more we can avoid using metals and minerals in construction, the better.
Agreed.
The more we can use things that can be renewed by the earth,
the better.
The better.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it takes a lot longer to create, like, for the earth to produce these metals than it does for it to produce a tree.
Yes. Absolutely. So before we move on to this forestry and how we're getting these trees, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, well, wait a second. Isn't a bunch of buildings and wood, aren't we going to all catch on fire? Because you have this vision in your mind of, like, just wood going up in flames. Like, we have wooden cities. It's going to be like somebody drops a match and the whole flame goes up. Mm-hmm. But it says, just so you know, wood actually performs very well in fire, especially in the U.S. People associate wood in buildings with stick frame construction, 2x4s, and plywood, which are flammable. Mm-hmm. It doesn't help the media has recently been full of images of stick frame houses and subdivisions burning in California, as they call out. Like, you see all these neighborhoods and stuff on fire, right?
Yeah.
So the thing
I'm
is,
sorry. Can I keep on my rants?
that this person is calling out the media?
No. I'm okay with him calling the media. I'm calling this. That's okay. It doesn't help. I actually agree with the author in this case. It doesn't help that that's being brought up because if you live in California, and you look at the volume of homes, mostly made of wood, that are here. It's a big city. It's a sprawling, massive place. It goes on basically nonstop from
edge
Ventura
to edge.
To San Diego.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Like it just keeps going forever. All right? And in all of that area, we have these huge fires that get reported. And for the last few years, by the way, finally, enough of the mountains burned.
I know we didn't have a fire season.
We didn't have a massive fire season in Southern California.
There were some, but down here, I was like, it's been a couple years where we had a fire every season, and this was the first year. I was like, we're not on fire.
Do you remember last year when the fire brigade, as they call it in Australia, when the fire brigade decided we're going to let it go?
Yeah.
And they just let the fire burn the entire back end of the Angeles National Forest.
Because they were like, we got to let it happen.
We're going to let it go.
Yeah.
Well, it worked.
It worked.
It's like it was a rough year last year, but they kept it under control, and now that forest is going to grow back strong, and hopefully we can manage it, which we're going to talk about later.
Yes.
My point.
Yes.
Tangential but worth it.
Yeah. Tangential but worth it.
My point is, very few communities burned up in all of those massive fires.
Right.
Very few homes were destroyed in all those massive fires. And now it sounds callous to say it when there were
people that lost their homes.
Lots of people did lose their homes. And there were people who were like, okay, well, that's fine for you. Maybe because I'm only the tiny percentage of the millions of people who live here, I still lost my house. Right. And my town is gone.
Right.
And I understand that, and I actually have sympathy for them, and I appreciate them. But you do have to look at how well these buildings are made. And how well the fire department does at keeping most of everything just fine.
Yeah.
Right. And that if you have built your place in the middle of a giant dried out forest, you are definitely going to be in more trouble than someone else, because the amount of heat that's coming, it will burn everything.
Yeah.
It will just burn everything.
It doesn't matter what the material is; it will go up in flames.
If it can light, it will go.
Absolutely. And then so he says, so get that thought out of your mind that wood would be any different when we're talking about blazes, right? Because he says the thing is, large, solid, compressed masses of wood are actually quite difficult to ignite. He said, for example, hold a match up to a large log sometime. It's not gonna just go up in flames. That's just not how it works. If anything, it's gonna char the outside a little bit. So these are
trees are designed to live through some fire.
Yeah.
The problem is the fires are getting too hot.
Right.
Because we're not managing the forest.
Exactly. And when we think of things going up very quickly and catching on fire, if you're making a particle board or you're making something that's literally a bunch of other materials mixed in, and there's a ton of oxygen in between, all those wood particles, because it's something that's made cheaply. Yeah, sure. It's going to go up like a match. But a regular compressed piece of wood probably isn't going to have that same problem.
This all goes back to Arrhenius's theory of activation energy, right? Like how much energy do you need to get energy to burn something, right?
Yeah.
So depending upon how much heat there is, it's easier to light it.
Yeah.
If you are on the surface of the sun, everything burns.
Yeah. Yes, it's
because
true. It doesn't
it's so
matter.
hot. You have to go.
This is the moment. Ronnie's got to go now. She's got to gather her stuff, and then this is what we're going to do. You gather your stuff, and you just say bye on your way out, and we'll wrap up the show without you.
Yeah.
Does she give us like a pre-buy? We
got you. That was pretty good.
Yeah, we got you. As you're walking by,
give us a pre-buy.
Yeah, when you're walking by, just say have a lovely time, because it just feels right when you do it.
It does.
All's right with the world. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways,
you were saying
if there's not a lot of heat, it's difficult to light things on fire.
Yeah.
It gets harder and harder. The hotter something gets, the quicker anything's going to burn.
Yep.
And so when you're building a fire out in nature, that's why you want to start with things that require very little activation energy.
Yep.
That can light very easily. So you're getting kindling, tiny twigs. You're getting dried up leaves. You're getting things that will go very easily.
Yeah.
And then you use that energy to create enough heat to then build up slowly larger logs and larger logs until eventually you've got enough coal, you've got enough severe heat going that you can throw on a big log and it'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that being said, so we can hear that European countries, Japan, places around the world, they're using traditional methods. There's new methods coming in, and they're using this wood and timber to build things. And in the U.S., we have some stifling for financial reasons, but it's just slow to get there. And a lot of it is we have this hesitancy because we hear how can you do forestry and logging sustainably? How is that even possible? And that was where the question came from. It was what is sustainable logging and forestry?
And the thing that's so funny is it's actually so easy.
It is easy. It is.
It's like this whole conundrum that people think exists does not exist.
Yeah.
And maybe it's big concrete.
Big concrete.
It's a big concrete executives.
Yeah, exactly.
That's making it seem like it's this horrible. It's not. It's easy.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing is that I don't think, as I was researching, there's two different things that are happening. Deforestation is different than a region of area that's being clear cut to be grown again, to have it happen on a cycle, and people don't know that.
I think that what happens in the Amazon has been very successfully manipulated and confused with what could happen, what happens everywhere else, or what could happen everywhere else. It is different. If you clear cut a forest to put down a farm, you have, what you've essentially done is you have removed something that naturally was supposed to be there completely.
Yes.
And you're now literally putting something else there.
Yes.
That has a different purpose, grows a different way, and then destroys everything that used to exist.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this.
That is different.
Yeah. And this is fitting for this time of year because it is the holidays and Christmas. We talked about this on a couple years ago on our Christmas tree episode. And it's like when people think about cutting down trees, if you only think that far and you're like, that's bad. No. There are wonderful and important ways for our ecology and the earth to survive if we cut down, regrow. That is a huge thing. And so a lot of these tree farms, that is the purpose. They're cutting here and they're letting this one grow. And then they're cutting here and they're letting this one grow. And they're just rotating around where they pull the trees from.
Right.
And that's an important part to continuing on in earth. But taking out a forest to build a mall, that's where you go,
that's not sustainable.
That's not sustainable, and we can't do that. So if you're replacing forests so that you can have more buildings and more stuff, that's what we're trying to be like. That's not necessarily the right idea, but we have to use these trees to build and use the things that we need in the world. But if you do it sustainably, it can work great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna let you go into to do. I'll have my own thoughts on what sustainable logging is and sustainable forestry is. But I would love to see what the experts.
But
think.
before I do, you just lean right into that microphone and you say to the world.
We're just gonna start singing a song right now.
I know she's standing up. She's standing upright right now, so it's so funny. She's not in her chair.
I wish the camera was pointing towards Ronnie because she looks like $1 million over there.
Goodness, it's not.
It's like Cher has just entered the building.
Cher has entered the building. Cher.
Well,
So tell them what you would normally tell them.
it was real. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Have a lovely time.
We will.
Normally you'd hear the piano playing of the theme right there, but
Enjoy college.
enjoy, have
I'll see you
fun.
guys shortly.
Yes, watch all the cables. I know it's a little bit of a mess, but we'll see you after lunch. There you go. There you go. All right.
She is very good at avoiding the camera. If you notice that, no one's
she's
ever
so
going to
good.
see.
She walked
what
over
Veronica looks like.
a snake pit of cables, and
did.
she just didn't once appear on the thing. But more
she
than likely,
has a gift.
We need that actually. That's coming with us. That piece of paper. That's
Yeah,
for lunch.
we are going
so
to
leave it right
Chipotle
there.
today to support
See ya.
my son's school.
Yeah.
Because they're doing a fundraiser.
Chipotle Tay.
33% of what we spend today is going to help.
Help your school.
Help his school get the things they need.
You don't have to twist my arm to go to Chipotle.
I know you love Chipotle.
I love Chipotle.
I'm the one who doesn't traditionally love Chipotle, but I'm getting there.
You're coming around,
I'm
baby.
getting there.
Baby. All right, so I'll read this. What does sustainable forestry actually mean? For many, the term sustainable forestry may seem like an oxymoron. How can logging ever be sustainable when, by definition, it requires that trees be cut down? That's exactly what we're talking about. Right. The complete answer is complex, but if we had to reduce it to one word, it would be balance. And that's what we're talking about. And this is a tasty piece right here. The hallmark of sustainable forestry from a purely ecological perspective is the extent to which forestry practices and mimics the natural patterns of disturbance and regeneration. Sustainable forestry balances the need of the environment, wildlife, and forest communities, supporting decent incomes while conserving our forests for future generations.
Yeah.
That's sustainable forestry. Balance.
If you do it right, if you and this is more than logging, but just in general, taking care of your forests. If you do it right, then you don't have fires that are so hot that they destroy the entire forest. Like when you're taking care of it and you're in balance with nature, you're clearing away enough of what's happening below, like enough of that, again, the stuff that can light pretty easily, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you can kind of help clear that out and keep that keep that out of the way, get rid of some of the smaller trees that don't have a lot of light anyway. Not all of them, but some of them, right? And occasionally, in the case of logging, you get rid of some big trees so that a smaller tree has a chance to grow.
Yeah.
That is good.
That's good.
That's good. That's you reduce a lot of carbon that way.
Yeah.
And you keep massive forest fires from occurring. Instead, you have the kind of forest fires that nature wants.
Exactly. Balance is the most important word that we could deliver on this episode, because there's this sense, I think, in the green communities as if humans are bad for the planet, and that's only when we're out of balance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we got to keep going here. We got to keep life going, and we are a part of the ecosystem, and we are part of the life cycle. We are born and then we die. It's just that we got out of balance somewhere along the way.
If you think that we are from the reptile culture and we're dropped here as aliens that don't belong on Earth and are part of some other thing and are invasive and a problem, then I can see why you would say humans are bad for the planet.
Right.
I don't prescribe to that philosophy.
We are not reptilians.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think that we probably evolved here.
Yeah.
I think that we probably
And
are
we're part of it.
I think we probably are part of the setup.
Yes.
I think we were meant to be here because we are here.
Yes, and the trees and the life and the animals and the plants
Are
everything
also supposed
are
to be here.
feeding off of what we're doing as the balancing act.
Right. And if we go out of balance, I guarantee you Mother Nature will kill us.
Yeah, exactly. And so all that we're doing now is we spend a solid 150 years kind of getting our way and moving towards like, well, we want what we want. Mm-hmm. And the planet's like, no, you have to go back to a level where we both get what we want here.
Yeah, I think there's a confusion as to why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We don't have this podcast, we don't have this movement for green because we're trying to save the planet. The planet will take care of itself at some point.
It will
It
win.
will. If we keep up with what we're doing, the results won't be that Earth disappears. The results will be that Earth changes, and it changes in such a way that we die.
And that
We
they
will
have-
be gone.
Yeah, and they have to start all over
And
again.
something else will evolve.
Yeah.
And that's how nature does it. And then something else will evolve, and that thing will then take over and will get its shot.
Yeah.
So if we don't want to disappear eventually,
Yeah.
I think the timeline is people disagree on what that is. But if we don't want to disappear eventually,
Yeah.
we should do something about it.
Yeah.
This is a self-interested podcast.
Yeah.
This
Absolutely.
is a self-interested movement.
Absolutely. Think about how different the messaging would be if you were to go out, and you can't really do this because there's obviously young people, they'd be like, what? But if you were to go out there and kids, this is to illustrate a point. But if you were to go out there and you were to say, instead of saying, you're killing the planet, and you said, you're killing yourself. Because that's what the green movement is.
That's it.
That's it. You're killing yourself.
Yeah.
The planet's going to get through all of this.
It will.
Because 4 million years from now, if it eradicates all of us, it'll still be just rocking, spinning, doing its thing.
Something else will take our place. Something will survive it, and we'll take something will go.
Yeah, and so this podcast and environmentalism and what we're talking about today is how do we survive? How do we get through all this?
Yeah.
So stop hurting the planet because it's going to retaliate at some point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying.
That's all we're saying. Yeah. But anyway, so I actually got some sustainable logging practices that we can run over real quick. But this all comes from the Rainforest Alliance. This started in 1993, and they created the Forest Stewardship Council. We've talked about it before on the show. These are the guidelines. These are the people that are trying to find, like, hey, if you're going to get trees from an area, you should make sure you have the Forest Stewardship Council guidelines in place, in order to protect the forest. So more and more, these kinds of regulations are going to help so that people can't go out, and we've had episodes about people stealing trees from regions, and they shouldn't be. So it will, in order to do balance and make it all work in harmony, there needs to be some systems in place where we do it the right way.
Yeah.
And that's all that's about.
Yeah, it's good. That makes sense.
Yeah. But let's share, before we close out the show today, with some sustainable logging practices.
Okay.
This is how you know. This
Here's
is
the list.
answering the question to that listener who said, what is sustainable logging? Okay. So first you have to determine the number of trees that can be harvested sustainably. You have to determine that number. You have to go out and go, okay, how many can we take from this hectares? Is that the word?
Hectares. Absolutely.
How many trees can we take and it will be okay? And it will be like a blip on the map. Like the forest won't even miss them. Right? Okay. So this is interesting. Logging cycles should be at least 80 years. Yeah. So this is an estimate.
Plenty of time to do business.
Plenty of time to do business. It says this is an estimate for all forest types because obviously it varies. Using this generalization, the percentage of logging available trees that may be harvested each year can be calculated. Cutting between 1 to 1.25% is optimal to allow the local fauna and animals to recover between harvests. You got an 80-year window.
Okay.
Logging cycles should depend on growth standards of mature trees.
Right. Do you know what's great about this? I'm sorry to always cut you off. But
This is for that person who's like, I want to get into logging.
Yeah. Go for it.
How can I tell you how to do it? Right?
You can do it.
Yeah, you can
do it. You can
get into logging.
Get into it.
Yeah. What were we gonna say?
Fine. Okay. New York.
New York.
How many did we say it was a city the size of New York for the next 40 or 80 years?
It was 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
So 40 New Yorks.
40 New Yorks.
That sounds incomprehensible, right?
It's just like, oh God.
That's just good.
That's too many big apples.
I want everybody to imagine New York, like just the city of New York on a close-up map. Like you're in your Google, you're at like street level.
Yeah.
And you zoom out. Wow, it's so much New York there. And you zoom in again, and there's still a lot of New York. Now you zoomed out. Now it's the whole city. You can see the whole city of New York. You can see the Bay. You can see everything. Yeah. You're starting to see Long Island. You're coming out, and you keep coming out. Now you can see, maybe like the county.
Yeah.
You zoom out, now you can see the state.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you see the state, and then you look at New York, and New York is still there.
Still there, but it's getting smaller.
It's getting small.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you zoom out again, and now we're seeing the whole eastern seaboard, part of the Midwest. You see in the Great Lakes, right? It's there.
It says New York.
It says New York. You can't really, you can sort of see that maybe there's a little gray, maybe,
right,
but not really. You zoom out, you're now half the U.S. It is a dot. You can't. You wouldn't know where to find it if you didn't have somebody pointing to it.
Exactly.
You zoom out at all the U.S. and it's
not even there. You can't even see the mark.
Nothing.
You can just see the state of New York barely, right? Because it's small.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm not talking about like the emissions impact of New York or the rest of it. That's a whole other question. So I don't want people to be confused into thinking what the impact of 40 New Yorks
baby.
is.
You're scaling.
I'm just trying to give you size. Okay. Now I want people to you look at that same map, and I want you to just look at the amount of forest that still exists in the United States on that map.
So much.
And how much is there compared to the dot that is New York?
A lot.
And then imagine what 1%, 1.5% of that forest would be.
Yeah.
You can make 40 New Yorks in 80 years, or in 40 years, right? 40 New Yorks in 40 years.
Yeah.
Quite easily.
Easily, because it's just blip,
with
blip,
what
blip,
exists
blip, blip.
sustainably.
Yes, you can.
Quite easily.
That's a good way of painting the picture, because we do get caught up in, we are the ants on the ground looking up at the giant feet, right, of people. And you go, New York seems enormous, but the planet is enormous. The forests are enormous. And if regulated in balance, like we talked about.
In that 80-year cycle, that 1.5% will be replenished and replaced
it grows
by
back.
itself.
It grows back.
40 New Yorks in 40 years sounds scary, very doable.
Very doable. Yeah. That's a great point. It's a great point. So here's a few more. Anyway, so it says 80 years, mature trees. You got to factor in, minimize the size and connectivity gaps. I don't even know if I know what that means. In clear-cut regions, it's important to not cut too large an area. These areas are meant to stimulate a natural disturbance and thus allow recovery by means of natural succession. Interesting. So it can't go too wide.
Yeah.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, well, so the trick is, and basically what they're trying to get at, the trick is you don't want to clear out so much forest that there isn't a mama tree that can make more babies.
They can make more babies. Yeah, it's got to connect a little bit.
Right. If you get, and you don't want to, we talked a little bit about trees talking to each other and sharing resources.
The wood wide web.
Yeah. So they are in their own way communal.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You don't want trees to not be surrounded by other trees when you're talking about a forest. You want to have enough there that you can have lots of moms and dads dropping, dropping acorns, dropping seeds, dropping
To grow the
cones,
forest again.
What they need to drop, right? Yeah. And also, you want to have enough there that you're going to get the assistance from the wildlife that's going to go in there and eat things and poop out things
and help it grow.
And step on things and do what they do.
Carry an acorn from here to over there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you cannot make the hole too big. You cannot isolate a tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. See, so the person who asked, these are the things that you do. And then this one, these are very specific, but hey, when selective logging is practiced, refrain from understory clearance and reduce the impact by minimizing skid trails and damage to the residual vegetation. So this is literally the guide.
Wow.
So, I mean, they're
talking about machinery.
You're talking about machinery,
like, be
right?
really careful with what where you're putting your machinery, how you're using it, what you're doing to disturb what's there.
Yeah. It says particularly in tropical forests where large natural disturbances are uncommon.
Yeah.
Understory vegetation should be preserved to maintain the integrity of the land and soil.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, so what's down there, what's below there is helping to first of all keep
keep
what's alive, right? All the wildlife. Yeah. And also that helps to make a nice fertile area for other things to grow. Yeah. And that's part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
What's down, like the little stuff that's down there is part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
You don't want to kill it all off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of that, by the way, are also little trees.
Yeah.
Little baby trees
trees.
You need to grow if you want to be able to keep making New Yorks all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep making New Yorks. Keep making New Yorks. So anyway, because these are so specific, I'll try to get over them quickly. Set aside pristine areas of appropriate sizes with adequate connections to other areas with logging concessions.
I actually don't know what a logging concession
is. Is it a stand where you buy sodas and burritos?
Obviously. Yeah.
I
think that's a bit in the weeds. That's probably that's something if you're a logger, you know what we're talking about. Exactly what you're talking about.
Identify the species of greatest conservation concern. Ensure that their needs are cared for adequately during logging activities.
Yeah, you don't want to accidentally make something go extinct because
you're logging in the area. Make sure those creatures and little critters and creepy crawlies and furry things are okay, and they're going to be okay. Yeah. Convert logged rather than pristine areas into plantations for commercially viable trees.
Yeah. So areas that you've already logged.
Yeah. That's where you convert it.
Yeah.
Prevent excessive human invasion into logged areas. Attempts should also be made to deny access to the poachers of such areas.
Yeah. Well, if you're already messing with it, you don't want more people now to come in and also mess with it. Like if you have a plan, you've put together a gigantic, beautiful math problem.
Yeah.
You don't want someone in adding an extra plus.
No.
Right? You want to stick to your plan.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
And then this is the last one. Maintain a buffer strip of at least 30 meters between clear-cut land and waterways.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, it's funny. I know I'm reading something that you're like, that is literally for somebody in the logging industry. But I wanted to say, look, there are guides and practices that are out there in these businesses and companies where they're going, this is how we're going to accomplish it. This is how we're going to have that balance. That's very specific. And if every person that you're getting your materials from is taking these things into consideration, that's balance right there.
I also want to remind people that land is expensive.
Yeah.
And that setting up a business is it's difficult, right? And so if you have decided that you're going to go into the logging business and you've gone and purchased many hectares of land with which to do so. If you go and clear cut and destroy all of that land, and your goal was to keep logging, you have just destroyed your business.
Right.
Because now you don't have any trees.
Yeah, right.
So people aren't stupid. They really, I mean, we joke that people are idiots and they suck and they make, but really we're pretty good. The dumbest human is pretty smart.
Pretty smart.
And if you're good enough at planning that you can get your hands on land for logging, you're probably also good enough at planning to want to keep that land working.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Pass it down for generations.
So let's not just assume that because the people are logging that they're not smart.
Yeah.
Or that their goals are just to make evilness happen.
Yeah.
We just want to have evil destroy all of the wood.
Evil. Because eventually those people that may have been guided by money or whatnot, they're going to figure out that you ruin the land, you ruin the business, you've got nothing left. And so in order to create balance means that it works out for everybody.
Do you know who created the rules for logging?
Who?
Loggers.
Loggers. Yeah, because they were like,
It's
our
not-
whole business is going to be dried up and we're going to have nothing left.
It's not environmentalists who came in and said, well, you got to do your business this way or it's not going to. No, they know what they're doing.
Because they need it to keep going.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're
Agreed.
saying, and over time, the best ones, the ones that do the best, have had the most success, have been able to keep their land going and haven't screwed everything up.
Yeah.
Have put together, they've come up with ways to do it that work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they share, like, this is how it works.
Yeah.
Son, if you want to have your own land to log, you have to do it like this.
Yeah, exactly. And then they create the rules. You don't go to a strawberry farm and you ask the guy who runs the farm and be like, so what do you do to get them back? And he's like, I don't know. We just grab them every year. They come out, just kind of clean them all up. No, he has a plan
Exactly.
to make sure that you get the strawberries and then they'll come back. Because he's got to get more strawberries next year.
Yes.
So, balance is what I think anybody who's making a living off of the earth wants.
Right.
They want balance.
And to be fair to maybe folks who are pulling their hair out who don't understand what we're talking about, we do understand that there is absolutely a concrete lobby
Yes.
that has no interest in any of that and
In
who
any
are
of the sustainable
going
building.
to put money into doing things the way that they do things, and that's going to affect competitive industries.
Absolutely.
And I also know that there are people who get entranced by the chance of being wealthy and having things be very simple.
Yeah.
Who will do things in a way that is not sustainable just so that they can have lots of money, and that's out there. And that somebody
Absolutely.
there could have a whole different list of the way they log quickly. What's the quickest way to
Because
get
we will
money?
save money.
And they might do it wrong.
Yeah.
But
We know it exists.
I give you that. I recognize that.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to say is that that's not everybody. In fact, I don't even think that's the majority of people. Most people want good things.
Yes.
They want to be in balance. People want to be in balance.
Yeah. And more, because we are so connected and everything's so visible, it's getting a lot harder. If there is a big, massive billion-dollar corporation that's making decisions, it's getting a lot harder to get away with it.
Yeah,
because people
yeah.
are seeing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're clear cutting forests and you're not treating the land respectably, you're getting called out left and right, and people are starting to learn. These big companies are getting pointed at and saying you're not doing it right anymore, and slowly but surely we're getting there.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yep.
But that was the timber revival and sustainable logging.
Great topic.
Wasn't it cool?
Yeah, it was
that was.
good.
So I
That's good stuff.
gotta say thank you to the listener who said we should do it on that.
Chat, let us know what you guys want to hear about and gals.
Absolutely,
Y'all,
yeah. Everybody, right? We love it because I actually, it's funny because I was going back through every topic we've done. We've rarely ever repeated ourselves. We've touched on a topic in a different vantage point,
Sure.
but we have so many episodes out there and we always have something new to talk about. And then somebody brings up something like logging and I go, oh,
Sure.
cool, sure, we can talk about that. So if you literally said, I want to know, how's the mirror industry doing? We could talk about that.
We'll
You know what I
get-
mean?
whatever, man.
Whatever. We can look into that. You want to know how disco balls are made?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Sure.
Whatever.
I'm sure there's a sustainable way to make
There's
disco
probably a
balls.
sustainable disco ball
Probably.
market. Sure. Yeah. So anyway, but thank you guys again for joining us this week on the Biofriendly podcast. We hope you're having a lovely December.
Yes. Hope the holiday season has been kicking.
I hope it's scootin' de doop.
Yeah.
And
Don't forget to tell your friends and your neighbors and your
parents.
your parents and your children
And your cousins.
and
your dog.
and your aunt.
All of them.
Yeah, and your aunts.
Ants. And your
Yeah.
pet ants. Your ant farm.
And ant farm. And anybody who who would like to both laugh
and learn.
and learn a thing or two about the environment, that this is the place to do it. And if you have someone who's like, "Oh, the environment sucks, and I hate it, and I want to die," whatever, that's send them our way. That's
Send them our way.
That's who
We
work
will
with.
win them over.
That's who we help.
The only person that if you send it to a reptilian might be a little angry at us for this episode.
Yeah, but you know what? I welcome them to
I
come
welcome
on the
them.
show
Come on.
and talk. I'm happy always to have somebody convince me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
I am 100. I'm in.
We welcome reptilians on this show.
That would have been a good tagline at some point. Whatever.
We're coming up. By the way, this happens every year. We create like 30 tags in the last month because everything becomes a tag. Yeah. Anyway, that being said, thank you guys so much. We have been your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Jacob's brain is constantly revealing itself.
Don't be environmentally gimmicky.
This guy's got bubbles.
And featuring Todd Watersocks.
Take the W and get on with it.
We assume on this show
ghosts are sexy.
This is where I always leave Veronica where I look at her.
We lost her.
Something. This is where I say beavers are great.
I think they are.
Yeah, beavers are great.
And then I say we understand microns.
Yes. And this is where we turn to Veronica, and she already gave it to us earlier. So with that,
you're gonna have to remember.
You have to keep it in your mind. Just hold on to it.
Yeah.
There it was.
God,
see you next time.
Bye, guys.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.